I've never run out of things to paint, because when I had an art gallery, I would ask the artists to say, and I'd say to them, "Look, why don't you paint Brisbane? There's so much to paint." And they'd say, oh, Brisbane. I mean, it's not Paris, they'd say. It's not Paris. There's nothing really interesting about Brisbane. I thought about that for a while, and then I thought, well, I'm going to do it.
Now arriving at Roma Street Station. If this is your station, prepare to disembark.
My name's Deborah Hood. I'm a Brisbane artist, and I've been painting for about, almost 60 years, I think. Probably a professional artist for the last 45 years. I loved architecture, so that's how I entertained myself, and would draw different plans of houses.
My name is Phoebe Paradise, and I am an artist based in Meanjin, Brisbane. I've got an interesting relationship with Queenslander houses. I think that the aesthetic of them is so unique and beautiful, and has a lot of history to it.
My name is Jan Jorgensen. I've been an artist that's been painting Brisbane for probably well over 30 years now. It's an absolute passion, and I've never run out of things to paint. I started looking at old houses then. I was always interested in houses. I dreamed about houses. I can't stop looking. I look everywhere I go. I'm always looking for views and old places and interesting places.
I think art in any form, whether it's music, film, painting, anything, poetry, writing, has some level of cathartic behaviour behind it, and allows us to express ourselves. And particularly, I think visual arts are great for that, for releasing a lot of emotion or angst that may be inside, or anything like that. The paintings are full of colour, and I love the fact that people are now using the term confetti, because I was determined to have Brisbane called the city of confetti, and many more people are now using it, and they can see what I mean by the floral colourings that we have that are like confetti that fall on the ground. And it's really lovely that people start seeing Brisbane the way that I see it, which is just crazy, because we've got pink palms in my paintings, but it's just now you can really, when you look at this city, it's just full of colour and wonder. It's beautiful.
I like to use colour as a way to exaggerate something that already exists, and to try and squeeze an image through a lens in a way that I can kind of like force people to see things the way that I see them. If you exaggerate colour and shape in your illustrations, you're kind of forcing people to look at details that they otherwise would miss.
I found people found real meaning in the details. So now I make sure I get them right. You can walk into one of my landscapes. For every painting I do, it belongs to somebody. It's like there's a connection with the buyer. Yeah, people really connect with them. I don't just do house portraits, it's the street, and it might be the time of day. My favourite times of day are probably 4 to 5 in the afternoon or early in the morning, especially afternoon. It's very satisfying. I couldn't, I wouldn't keep going painting if I didn't get that response from people. You know, it sort of completes the circle somehow.
The colonial Queenslander, which was probably one of the earliest ones, they had just a little front veranda, central hall, 2 bedrooms, one on either side as you came in. When it was raining, the kids could still play under the houses or on the verandas. People could still be outdoors. You could still engage with the neighbourhood, people walking past. And I think that's what we're losing. I don't think there's any other cities, perhaps, you know, that you can think of that it's got such an abundance of the Queenslander vernacular. And the lattice work is so, you know, so typical of the Queenslander as well. And I can't think of anywhere else in Australia, for example, that you'd find those.
Queenslander houses are, to me, not just like an aesthetic image that I really love, but something that I think really represents Brisbane in this really gorgeous way. Like some of the, I don't know, the way that Brisbane interacts with its climate through its design, and how the people of Brisbane are forced to sort of change and adapt with the sometimes unpredictable weather that we have here.
Even when I was a child, I loved old houses, and I used to think about who lived in them and whether they were happy or whether they were unhappy. And I came to the conclusion that some houses have always had happy people in them. And then you just feel that, you know, you feel it. I loved the space and the light, and the verandas, of course, were wonderful. They were also a huge amount of upkeep, you know, so my mother and I painted 10-foot ceilings and tongue and groove walls, and they're a lot of upkeep, but they're always cool in summer.
It's an incredible privilege if it does connect with other people. And I feel really lucky that the work that I've done is connected with like a demographic in Brisbane and Australia. I think that there's some characteristics of my work that won't quite make sense outside of Australia.
Even looking back now, over the 20 years that I've been painting them, there's so many buildings that have gone, that have disappeared. And that's all that they're left on the canvas now, which is really sad to see. And, you know, the people, I think that's why a lot of people relate to them, because they know that they're very precious, they're very Brisbane, very unique, and, yes, too many of them are just being pulled down.
The first one that I ever saw, Margaret Olley painted it as well, the same house, and, you know, they pulled it down. They pulled it down and they built a 6-pack of yellow brick flats. I've never forgiven them. Grief. Grief. And anger. I get so angry when I see that they're gone. So many of the places I've painted, I go back in 2 or 3 years, they're gone. And that's dreadful. Even Paddington, the trees go. People have cleared so many blocks to build these little narrow white houses. And I think I've counted about 6 big jacarandas, that really old jacarandas, gone, you know. So it does make people aware of what we're losing, and I think it makes people aware of how unique Brisbane is, because nobody else has got these houses. I think it's a really interesting city, and it's unique. It's not like anywhere else.
But with those Queenslanders, don't just pull them down, don't just destroy them, because it's easier and less cost is involved in retaining them and renovating and keeping them as part of the streetscape, and we're losing that. But I believe too, not only losing the streetscape, but we're losing community.
They're not saving them the way they should be. They're just not. And they're not just preserving the house, they're preserving really the spirit of the people who've lived there.
Oh God, it's so hard to keep up. You know, the city's just changing so much that we're constantly kind of tearing stuff down to build something new, for better or worse.
You see places that are up for sale or development sites, and you know that house is going. You know, I'll be driving around and just have to take photos. I've got so many photos of houses that I want to paint when I get the chance, just to hold them a bit closer for a bit longer, I think. And, you know, not just have them in the shadows of these cement blocks that are now blocking everything else around them. My aspiration for Brisbane is that we enjoy ourselves, you know, and trust in our own abilities, which we just still have this sense of not quite getting there. And I think in the art world, we are there. We're equal to anywhere as far as the city goes, but we're unique. It's so vital, you know, without those cultural elements, then a city is just a blur. Who wants to paint that?